everyone, this is Lori from the Crafting Auntie. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing some page tabs. I'm using some of the Tim Holtz craft cardstock. I'm also using some of his photo booth photos, and I'm also using some fall items that I had left over from Polka Art Studio. So here I am sanding that craft cardstock and giving it a little bit of a weathered look here. Now I have a couple for each one, so these are going to be front and back page tabs. So I've tried to make the sizes the same and picked out some things that would go well with it. I'm also distressing the photos to give them an aged look as well. I am just using a sanding disc on this, so just to rough up the edges and to make it look worn and weathered. I've also trimmed down some of the photo booth photos so that they would fit nicely onto the piece of craft cardstock that I have cut for it. So that's what I'm doing here, is just resizing them to fit better onto the piece, and then also aging them up and sanding. And this is a sanding disc that I do use on one of the daubers that I have for distress ink. These are sanding discs that I believe are Tim Holtz as well, or Ranger, and they work really well on this. But if you don't have any sanding discs, you can use an emery board, you can even use a light sandpaper, just something that would rough up those edges as much as you want. Here I'm getting ready to glue the pieces onto the top of the craft cardstock, but before I do that, I'm going to use Walnut Stain Distress Oxide, and I'm going around all the edges of the paper and the craft cardstock. I'm also distressing the photo booth photos, also wrinkling them up a little bit just to give them an aged look. Now that I have them distressed, I'll be gluing the pieces together. But first, before I do that, I want to add some resin to the pumpkins. So I'm bringing over my UV light and I'm using the UV resin to do that. So here I'm just adding the UV resin, and just put it wherever you want to. You've probably seen me use this before. It just gives it a little shimmer and a shine, a little bit more than a embossing powder would do. So I'm just adding it to some of the areas onto these pieces, and then I'm going to put them under the light. So all the ones with the pumpkins and these smaller ones, square ones, have acorns on them. So I am adding the resin to those areas. So here I've turned the light on for 60 seconds. Now I'm going to glue the pieces that I just did the resin on onto the craft cardstock. Just using art glitter glue for this, positioning them so that they're even around all the edges. Doing the same thing for the small ones as well. And then I'm going to take them to my sewing machine, and I'm going to do some stitching around each of the pieces with just a brown thread on them. So here I have done the stitching. I've done it on all 4 of those. And now I'm just going to add a few decorations. I'm not huge into Halloween at all, but I picked out a few things that I have from Tim Holtz, from his Halloween ephemera kits that he has put out this year. So I picked out some things that I thought would go, because I'm not a huge Halloween fan, but I wanted to do just a little bit on here. So I'm going to be gluing on these pieces onto each of these sides of the page tab. Now I'm going to put them back to back inking a little bit on the inside so it doesn't see too much when they're put together. And then I'm just going to put them together, making sure that I have right sides on both sides, with an eyelid. I'm not gluing these together. You would glue them together once you add them to your page. So to hold them together for now, I'm just adding an eyelid. So down in the corner, because I do want to add charms to these, I'm just putting on the eyelids. And I'm showing you here how it would go on your page. I just grabbed a piece of ephemera that I had here by me. So that's how they would go. So I'll do the square ones as well. Decorating these also with just little pieces of the ephemera. And then I'll do the same thing. I'll put these back to back, making sure they're right sides up. And I'll add the eyelet in the corner again. And I'm trying to stay away from the stitching so I don't get the stitching broken up. So I'm trying to go in between that and the edge. And then I'll add my eyelet. This would go on the same way. And it's a front and back, so you can put it on a page and you've got something beautiful to show on either side of your page. Okay, now I'm going to be doing the other 2 page tabs. And for these, I'm going to use some Tim Holtz Frosted Crystal Embossing Powder. So I'm using my Versamark pad for the embossing, and I'm putting that on each of the photo and making sure it's covered well. Now I'll add the embossing powder, which is the frosted crystal, which gives it kind of a, I don't know, kind of a dreamy look, or it's just a neat look on them, and I just thought that it would look really good for these page tabs. So I'm just adding it on and tapping it off. You can see what it looks like right now. I'm making sure everything is covered good. Putting it on some clean paper, and then I'll use my heat gun to emboss these. Hard to see the embossing powder, but it really looks cool for these. Just gives them a really neat look. Okay, so now I'm going to be gluing the photos onto the craft cardstock. So again, I'm using art glitter glue for that. And the back of the photos are just a little bit shiny, so just hold them down for a little bit and let it grab. It just takes a little bit longer. So I'm just making sure I'm pressing them down really good to make sure that they stay there. I am going to be stitching around these as well, so I just want to make sure they're stuck in place so nothing moves as I stitch. Okay, so I have stitched around them, and now I'll be putting these together. So when I picked out these photo booth photos, I just tried to find ones that weren't smiling, just kind of grumpy looking. So that was my little take on Halloween touch, which isn't much, but it's for me. And then I'm just inking up some ephemera pieces again from Tim Holtz Halloween ephemera from this year, and just adding a few pieces on here just to give it a little bit of a look. And so I'm just gluing these down. And then I'm matching up the kids with the kids and the ladies with the ladies. Okay, so now that I have these all glued and stitched, I'm going to be putting these back to back the same way, making sure I have right sides up on both sides, and adding my eyelet down in the corner. And these would go on your page the same way. So now I have all the eyelets in, and now I want to add some charms. So I've picked out these charms. Again, I don't have anything Halloween, so I've got some leaves, and I've also got some bulb pins, a heart, and a butterfly. So that's what I'm using for the charms for these page tabs. So I'm just adding the charms to the bulb pin, and then I'm putting it through the eyelet hole. And then they'll dangle like this when you put them on the page. So I hope you guys enjoyed this fun little project. I just thought it would be fun to do some of these again. I like using them in my journals. They're a lot of fun to add to your pages. So here are all my page tabs all finished. And I hope you guys give this a try. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. So you guys have a great day. God bless you, and we'll see you at the next video. Bye.